Absolute Wonder Woman's Lasso from Hell is insane. The second issue of Absolute Wonder Woman picks up right where the first issue left off, with Diana in the midst of an intense showdown with the Harbinger Prime. And immediately after pulling out her lasso, she put that thing to use, slashing the adversary with it left and right while her Pegasus blasted it with its fire breath. Now after that, the Harbinger was understandably pissed. I don't think anybody likes being burned by lassos from hell, so in retaliation to Diana's assault, he commanded all of the smaller Harbingers to charge her, but Diana would come out of the interaction completely unharmed thanks to summoning a shield with dark magic. Moments later, she demanded Prime to surrender because if he refused to cooperate, he'd surely face his doom, but this is a bad guy we're talking about here, and for the most part, bad guys are stupid. So of course the monstrous muscle monster refuses to cooperate, forcing Diana to wrap her lasso around its neck. Now, this is where we find out that the lasso is known as Nemesis. That's what Diana calls it, and honestly, it's almost completely identical to Ghost Rider's penance stare, because right here she says, "Nemesis will be a particular hell for you, Harbinger Prime. She binds and burns in proportion to your sins, and your soul shines bright with the blood of the innocent. The burn you feel is the result of the pain you have caused to others." So yeah, very similar to Ghost Rider's penance stare, and after begging to be released, the Harbinger finally agrees to go back where it came from and to never return, and also to tell whoever sent it to stay put as well, because from now on, Diana would be protecting planet Earth. Soon after it left, Diana was approached by Steve Rogers. Just kidding, that's Steve Trevor, but I never realized how similar him and Steve Rogers are, and to be honest, I think Wonder Woman and Cap would be a crazy power couple. But with that being said, after Trevor approached her, the story takes us into the past, where we find out that the first time they ever met was when Steve washed up on the shore of Diana and Cersei's island in Hell. Upon Diana trying to help him though, he was snatched up by a giant octopus called the Hydra, so she jumped down into the depths of the ocean to save him, then bringing him back to her and her mother's home, where they covered him in Cerberus fur to keep him warm. Diana would then express to her mother that she felt responsible for caring and looking after him while he recovered, because she was the one who found him. But upon telling him that he was in hell when he eventually came back to his senses, Steve began panicking out of belief that he was dead. Nevertheless, they assured him that he wasn't actually dead, gave him a little bit of time to process his circumstances, and expressed that although yes, it was true he was in hell, this was actually the safest place there. Soon enough, him and Diana took a walk on the shore where he washed up, and after some chatting, it was clear that he was quite fascinated and interested in the woman that saved him. She was so tall, her vision was so good, she could see the tentacles of the octopus who snatched him earlier way off in the distance, and there was just something so very different and special about her. Deep down in his heart, he had claimed Goth Mommy as his already. Alternating back over to present day, Diana was so surprised and happy to see him, expressing she was there to save the day and that he looked very handsome in his suit. And although Steve was just as happy to see her, he warned that his general wanted to have a word with her and was gonna be a little rough around the edges because nobody knew who she was and they weren't sure if she was an ally yet. Proving him correct, we then see the general yelling in her face and practically spitting at her, pointing out that it was pretty suspicious that she showed up at the exact same time as the giant monster and was also the only one who could stop it. Now, being the understanding and loving soul she is, Diana didn't reciprocate his negative energy, but promised him that this world and the people in it most definitely needed her help because they were not prepared for what was coming. Prime was just a messenger, and not only was the thing that sent it much, much larger, but it was probably going to arrive in an hour if they were lucky. So they needed to start evacuating. Diana would then go outside to feed Pegasus because apparently it needed to eat magic to survive, and after Steve asked her about it, she revealed that this was the Pegasus, the great mythological winged horse, but it was all bones and stuff because it was slain by Zeus. What gets me hyped though is what Diana says next, because she hints at the Absolute Trinity / Justice League, expressing there will be other heroes that come to ward off the forces of evil. But right after that is when things took a turn for the worse, because the ground started shaking, a terrible noise erupted, and then the literal personification of death arrived in the form of a humongous monster the size of multiple skyscrapers, probably. So Diana tells the general that she was wrong. Don't just evacuate people within a mile, they needed to evacuate the entire city. And as she heads towards the massive beast all by herself, the issue sadly comes to an end. But if you want to see what happens next, let me know in the comments down below. I love you guys.